So we have done the Arctic that we know not too many people live in. And we did the high altitudes, which are also in some cases pretty densely populated, but they're way up there, way high, too high to live. And then we did, some of you like the arid lands, the desert. And we decided that those were important because of there's a bunch of them. We don't want our grasslands to turn into desert either, so that's important. But wow, there's a statistic. I'm not going to tell you about the importance of grasslands because you can see it right there. That's a lot of people. A fifth of the world's population. 31% of the world's land surface. I don't know, maybe Florida is in there. Boy, that sounds like a lot of land to me. A lot of land, a lot of it. So super important, the grasslands. So we're not going to have to argue for their importance. Definitely need the grasslands. Instead, well, we'll just go through all the lessons we can learn from the grasslands. So, question is, if you were a grassland, if you are a lover of the grasslands, which do you love more? Which do you want to be more? A rancher, a herder, animals, or a farmer, a planter of things? Now you have to decide. The lasso. Yeah. Not farming. Oh, farming.
Nowadays it's way too easy. You just sit in that big tractor and press a few buttons. No, but you can have ranch and farm.
Sit in the tractor and press a few buttons.
Oh boy.
No, actually, Tyler is correct and others are correct. It's a trick question. It's a trick question which we should not ask. Why, John? Why shouldn't we ask this question? Ranching or farming, cows or pigs?
Diversification.
Diversification, we need that. Excellent. What a big word. What a nice, beautiful word, diversification. So in this class, we're going to learn some big lessons that we all need. We need that. We need that. We'll be careful here. Some of the big lessons that I have may not be entirely true. Some of them were made to be funny, hopefully. So this one isn't funny, though. This is serious. Diversification. What does that mean?
It's the adaptation of all the various aspects of culture and the various needs of farming and ranching. It's all together. It's
all together.
It's
not separated. I actually was thinking more about just, let's say you are a herder, you're having a variety of animals. So you don't just have cows, you might have sheep in there. You know, different things. And it is true, like you've just told me, that you can do, it's not just farming versus ranching, as one of the titles indicated. A lot of people have begun doing farming with ranching. So they might do one part of the year or another different part of the year, combining things. The Hutterites of the Canadian and North Dakotan, Montana plains have been very good at combining farming and ranching and diversifying, using technology, but not wanting to go on those Florida vacations too much. So they don't consume too many resources. They've been a good example of this. And so I guess I would say that in general, the lesson is diversification is probably a good idea, especially in upcoming years of climate change. You should watch out for people who tell you just to plant one thing, just plant corn, or just raise one thing. If you specialize too much and the climate changes, then you're in trouble. And those kinds of things can also deplete the soil and lead to crop failures and those kinds of things. So oftentimes we have come in as agricultural development types and said, what you guys need to do is plow all this land up and get yourself a big tractor and push the buttons and tractor plant it and put in some corn and soy. What are you doing with all these little things around here? It looks like a garden, looks like a mess. We're going to plow this all up and make you make some money. So anyway, that turns out to be a stupid idea. Or not always stupid. I mean, sometimes maybe you should specialize, but just be careful of it, I guess I should say. We need that diversification. Allegedly. Tyler, what else do we need? Fire. Yeah. Victoria, why?
That stuff kind of, and then it makes it so that if there is a fire, it won't be as bad as if there weren't the little ones before.
Ah, yeah. So it gets rid of the bad stuff, promotes the good stuff. And if you have a little fire, lots of little fires, then you won't have a huge fire. Turns out the people who were indigenous to the Americas are, and Australia, and probably other parts of the world, used fire a lot, like big fires, to transform the landscape in ways that we don't even understand today. Because the Europeans came here and thought they came to the Garden of Eden, thought everything was all natural here. Turns out it was all being managed by the people who were living here. So they used to set whole portions of it ablaze to favor the crops and the plants and the animals that they wanted to hunt and gather. And so some people believe that what they were doing was not exactly, it was a kind of farming, but on a large scale, landscape transformation type stuff. We'll probably never understand that because we didn't get into that. Instead, we got this whole idea that we should prevent fires. That's what I was taught. Smokey the Bear, go around. I mean, obviously you shouldn't be starting bad fires, but the whole idea is we could suppress the fire. So, you know, we thought Europeans came in and said, these people, they don't know how to suppress the fires. We're going to put out all the fires. No fires. Turns out, terrible idea. Really dumb. Because now, when a fire comes, just burns up everything. So anyway, again, it's not to say that everything natural is going to be good, but don't discount the natural processes before you understand what's going on and understand the people who may be able to use those natural processes. Turns out that this may have been a good idea. It's hard to get it back now. Now you have to suppress the fire or else my big California house burns down and then I'm sad. But, you know, we'll get there. Yeah, I can still go to California. Florida, no. Huh? What? Oh, that's a long story. Different class. Let's see. Florida's going to happen to us, man. That's actually the biggest worry. Is not what happened to Florida. It's when Florida happens to me. That's what I'm worried about.
Spreading.
The spreading. Yeah. Yeah, not northern Florida either. It's the southern Florida spreading into my world. Anyway, Anaya, talk to us about the herds. What are they doing with the herds? What'd you see?
Like say like a man has this amount of cattle that he's gonna well and some other tribes use the cattle as a clearing in the face and like, you know, the shallow distance breeding, and then the other stuff like sunbeam and stuff.
Yeah, it turns out all that cow stuff is useful. Well, before we get into, I guess I could have made this lesson even better. I'm just gonna call it use everything. I was gonna say, I should have made it use the cow urine, but let's just say use everything. Yeah, it turns out these things can be very helpful. As I know it sounds a little gross, but urine, I think it's like sterile, right? Sir, it can be. Anyway, you can use a lot of things. Use things. I guess a different lesson is beware excessively just trying to sell things. Kind of goes with the monocropping specialization idea. The idea that what we need is a big tractor to come in here, plow everything up, then we're going to just raise a bunch of cows so we can sell them, and the rest of the stuff we get rid of because it's waste. And that doesn't work. I'm not saying the market can't ever work. The market can be helpful, and it actually can work to conserve. It can work in a planned way to help people conserve various things that have value that they might throw away. But just be careful of an overly market-oriented environment. Moran mentions the work of John Bennett on the Northern Plains. This was written a while ago, but this is talking about that area of the Northern Plains that we were talking about in Canada, where there's indigenous populations, but also Hutterites and other people who moved into ranch and kind of the interactions in that zone. So use everything. I could not find I thought that the human compost and human waste was in Moran. I couldn't find it in Moran, Louisa, but I did find it in Bloomberg. It says we're good to go, folks. Just be careful, though. Be careful. Just maybe you want to read up yourself before you just use it for your own vegetables. It's maybe something you need to treat, but it's all right, it seems. Right. There you go. There you go. Jacob, what'd you learn? Yeah. I guess I took this lesson from it. Yeah, I mean, maybe in the animal, in the world of herders, because of milk, because of reproduction. You can take the general lesson if you want to. Works for some people.
Look back on my notes like 5 years from now. I just gonna be like, why did you write this out there? It's for a class.
It's for a class. Yeah.
I do not believe in that. Thank you.
We're not going to talk about this. We're going to talk about elephants. That's a good idea. Going to elephants. What do we learn about elephants? Liz, did you talk about elephants? I forgot. What did you talk about? Disease. All right. Tell us about diseases. The elephants are going to come back, trust
That sounds awesome. They're gonna come.
What do you learn about diseases? Diseases are bad.
Certain diseases, areas, affected cattle. That might also like how the disease affects the reproduction of cattle. And sometimes the herders have to weigh the decision of where they bring their herd to, in these areas where the disease is more prevalent.
Yeah, I think the tsetse fly, right? Bad. Seems terrible. Yeah, diseases are a problem. Autumn, do the elephants have anything to do with these diseases? No, yes.
Because there areas they can stomp out basically those flies and help prevent those diseases because, you know, for any.
The elephants turn out to be good. You kill all the elephants, they can't stomp on the flies' breeding ground. I don't know if they're actually killing the flies themselves, but certainly getting rid of their habitat as they stomp around, reducing the range of tsetse fly reproduction, helping us out. Don't get down on the elephants. Guess that's my lesson. No, my lesson is, it turns out that the animal-human, the non-human animal and the animal-human vectors and relationships are becoming more complicated with climate change, and people get down on the elephants because they come in and stomp on their crops and are kind of mean. But then, you know, the elephants are getting down on people because we keep expanding into their range and trying to kill them and stuff. So it is complicated, especially if you're trying to grow food and you have different animals around. But I think that we have to be able to try and help each other here. We need those elephants to, you know, stomp on the flies. It's also going to be complicated, as we know, you know, some of these diseases that are coming around by zoonotic transfer, which is the most likely reason we were all masked up for the last couple of years. Those kinds of diseases are probably going to keep coming around if we don't figure out the relationships between animals and humans. So don't count out the elephants, I guess I would say. Yes.
So that reminded me of like last year when this like news story came out. I looked up just to make sure I was correct about it. So it talks about an elephant trampled a woman to death, and then it returns hours later to trample her corpse and then attacks and destroys her house because I think she like did something into it. But yeah, I thought that was a really interesting story that came out last year.
Elephants have a very long memory. They have a complex system of social relationships which we don't understand. Best not to mess with them.
Well, that elephant has that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it stopped on her funeral. And came back during her funeral.
Came back to the funeral. Most people like to do a respectful funeral, but
Yeah, the reporter grabbed her body, trampled it, and threw it before running away at the funeral.
you have to go back to those elephants. I don't know what the lesson is about the elephants, but I'm not getting rid of them yet.
Oh no, don't come back.
Good. Right. No. Anna, what do you learn? They don't stay in one place at once. I mean, for a long time, because they know how to move around. My lesson from this, never settle. Never. A good life lesson, I think. Yeah, that's why I left it that way. Don't settle. I mean, all right. Sometimes it's good to put down a few roots here and there. But you just need to watch out. You need to watch out for times in which people colonize different areas, try to group everybody up. Autumn, what happens when we try to put people in places, fix them down, and make sure they don't go anywhere. Yeah, most of the time the people have said, hey, you guys are roaming around too much. We're gonna bring you all in and give you some plumbing and stuff. It hasn't worked out that well most of the time. I'm not saying you should never do this. I guess I am saying that, but just be careful of it because it can lead to some strange consequences. Yes.
Disagree with the never settle thing, and when I look at, you know, the history of the United States with colonization, you know, the treatment of Native Americans, including other minorities when they later came to the country. So yeah, just don't come to America. Yeah.
Well, I guess, yeah, I mean, my never settled thing would work here as well, because if we hadn't done all this settling, you know, that all that stuff wouldn't have happened. They call it settler colonialism for a reason. I'm saying against it. Anyway.
They're against the freedom nation, even though it's just settlement. It's not very freedom, it's more of just settling down. They're against you.
Maybe so. Well, I guess I'll put it a different way. Pass. What should we watch out for here when we're thinking about people who move around a lot?
But it's been settling the environmental problems in a way, because it's losing the herd, and losing where they're grazing, they're avoiding overworking a particular area. Whereas the sedentary populations are using the same soils, they're gonna plant the same crops, and they're repeating the same cycle over and over again, without giving the land time to replenish itself.
Yeah. My lesson here is there's a deep vibe in our society which blames herders and blames pastoralists for everything that went wrong. I tried to call out that vibe when I was talking to you about playing Frisbee on Frisbee Field and having somebody come in with a herd of sheep. I couldn't really call that vibe out. I seemed confused. But I'm telling you, it runs deep in our society. The idea that the herders are here to degrade everything, to eat all the grass and poop everywhere, and then they're going to destroy everything and then just move on, and we're just going to be left here with a bunch of crap. We do have that idea. And it's partially because the history of European and North American societies was mainly written by settled farmers. They're the ones who wrote all the history books. They'd be sitting in their towns and they'd be getting scared of somebody coming in and raiding them from the outside. So most history is written against herders. I'm telling you, it runs deep. So it's a history that is about, you know, being the advantages of being a settled person and how bad those herders are out there with their lassos and stuff. We want tractors, not lassos. This is an interesting article I found recently. What Kenyan herders can teach us about living in a volatile world, embracing uncertainty. I found it when I was looking for some references in Moran. Some of the references in Moran are written by multiple authors in these scientific journals. I don't get good book images from them, but this was kind of, you know, what herders can teach us, because most of the lessons we've been taught are from farmers. And I don't know, I'm suspicious of farmers now. Never settle. All right, Mickey, when you see a picture like that, what should you think?
They got voices. They didn't always have voices, but they got them after year 2.
Yeah. My lesson from this is learn your history. A lot of people want to believe that this is from the mythic times, that there were these ancient cultures that happened fairly recently. And one of the things that is a good lesson from this is that, you know, people in indigenous societies have been flexible, adapted, changed, incorporated different methods. They aren't just stuck in time. Actually, I don't like this picture very much because it looks kind of stuck in time, but in fact, anything like that would have only happened in the last 200, 300 years or so. As the indigenous societies of the plains captured and traded and got horses from Spaniards and other Europeans and incorporated them very much into their own society, probably better than the Spaniards could even do. Eventually, they got very good at doing great horse personship and stuff like that. But it's an important lesson about how, you know, indigenous societies, again, other societies are not simply stuck in some sort of traditional ways. They change as well. And it's good to know that history before you go into it. Speaking of learning history, Zeke, what do we want to know about before we go into these prairies?
Failure.
Yeah, that's a very important lesson, right? Don't just take what you thought you could do over there and bring it over and say, here's some land. These people must not have known what to do with it. I'm going to try my way. Kick these people off, try my way. Then what happens? Yeah, bad things. So again, big lesson. Learn some stuff before you just start planting a bunch of things in the ground. The Dust Bowl, the Dust Bowl. What did you learn about the Dust Bowl, Louisa? Yes. There is a lot.
They used it for mainly World War and other activities like that. And because they didn't plant the variety of plants or take breaks in between periods of time when they were planting, it caused depletion and erosion of the soil, which in turn made it desertification, desertification. And on top of that, there was a quote from Moran that was talking about how those dry seasons were always kind of a thing, like the drought seasons, throughout time. But the whole planting these crops and overexploiting the land just caused even a bigger issue, which caused the Dust Bowl to get bigger and expand and ruin a lot of people's lives.
Yeah, this is kind of amazing to me. I think when I learned about the Dust Bowl, I just learned that there was all these farmers there and a big wind came through, and the next thing you know, they're off in California. Something like that. They were sad. That's what I learned. I guess my education sucked, but I mean, this was a pretty different story, right? I mean, there have been droughts like this before and after the 1930s, but there was only one big Dust Bowl because they were messing up the land so much, or that was one factor in it, that they were not using good agricultural techniques, and so it intensified all the effects and in fact created the Dust Bowl.